New Edge Mustangs are some of the best project cars, and I'm going to tell you why. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to go over why a New Edge Mustang is some of the better project cars out there. There is many reasons for this, and it really is just an all-around great platform. So if you are new here, this is my 2001 Mustang GT. Obviously it's not stock anymore. I bought it completely stock for a really good price, and that is one of the reasons that they are great project cars. Now, I've done a lot of stuff just from simple bolt-ons and a lot of cosmetic stuff, manual swap and different stuff. You can check out my channel more if you do want to see more about this car. So honestly, if we just go ahead and get right into it, I think one of the biggest reasons why these are great is, like I said, the price. Whenever you're trying to buy in for one, they're really good. I picked up this car 4 years ago about for $4,200, and back then that was honestly still is a steal nowadays. Now, it is going to be a little bit higher of a price just because of inflation and everything. But still, if you can find a New Edge that is this clean for under $6,000, I mean, I would honestly probably jump on it because it is a really good price. I bought this thing with 105,000 miles. Obviously, it's got a little bit more now since I've driven it a lot more. But $4,200 for a car with 105,000 miles that is 20 years old, I feel like you can't really beat that. And going along with the great price, does come a great price on parts. Now, these cars are 20 years old, so there is a variety of stuff that you can do. I mean, literally anything you want to do to it, you can do it. You want to do bags, you can do bags. You want to lift this thing, I mean, you could lift it. You could literally do whatever you want. And along with that, everything is honestly decently priced. I mean, yeah, sure, it's went up over the last couple of years, but everything is still fairly cheap. Now, I don't remember exactly what all I have in this car. I think it's somewhere north of 15,000, which I know that sounds like a lot, but whenever you really think about it, it's not that much compared to newer cars or what you would spend, and that's with the buying price. So if we just look at my car for an example, I mean, I lowered this car. It's on iBox Sportline lowering springs. I think the springs are around like $300. Also, I've done shocks and struts and everything. That's like another $300. So pretty much the way it sits right now, I mean, that's $600 and it's looking this good. And if you happen to get the version with this front bumper, obviously you can see that I've done a chin spoiler and a Mach 1 griddle lead. I think I've only spent like $130 maybe to do what it looks like in the front. And then headlights, these things are dirt cheap. If you do happen to like these style of headlights, I do have a link down below that'll save you a lot of money rather than going to an actual parts store. You can buy these off of Amazon straight from the company, and they're a lot cheaper. You save like $20 or so. But I think on Amazon, these are like $90. And that's a crazy good steal compared to newer cars and headlights. I mean, I have a buddy that has a BMW, and he said on his BMW, they're true BMW headlights that came from Europe, but he spent, I think, close to like $3 on them, which is just absolutely absurd considering that I spent $90 on my headlights. And honestly, if you think of other simple stuff like a cold air intake, it's gonna be a lot cheaper for these cars than it would be for maybe a newer Mustang. I think my cold air intake was like $350. I think newer cars are a lot more, even if I did go with the same exact brand. And obviously for this reason, I might be a little bit biased, but I do think that New Edges are some of the better looking Mustangs. Now, I mean, there's many New Edge types out there. You got the V6, GT, like this one, and you got a Bullet, you got a Mach 1. Obviously, you got the 99-01 Cobra, and then the 0304 Cobra. And really the biggest difference is the Mach 1s. Those are 4 valves. Bullets are still 2 valves. The 99-01 Cobras are 4 valve, and those are all naturally aspirated cars. And then obviously if you go to an 0304 Terminator, that's where you have a 4 valve that has a supercharger on it. And obviously you got some different stuff going on, like you got different side skirts, a different rear bumper, different front bumper, wing, and a lot of different other stuff. But if you go into 0304 Cobras, those are gonna be a lot more expensive. And kind of just going along with me saying that you can literally do just about anything in these cars. I mean, these things look good, and this is a completely stock body car. There's nothing done to it other than it being lowered. And I've done a little bit of stuff like the headlights and griddle elite and the chin spoiler. But I mean, other than that, every single body panel on this car is a stock body panel. Like a lot of guys, they'll do a different front bumper, different hood, all this different type of stuff. Now, eventually would I like to do that? Yeah, maybe. But then again, I do think it is cool to be able to have a completely stock body car because you don't see stuff like this anymore. Now, eventually, I mean, if I did ever do stuff, I would like to do 99 to 01 Cobra bumper on the front, a different type of hood, preferably like the Cobra R hood, the style. And then maybe I would do the Terminator wing. Not entirely sure. I do like the look of like a shaved Cobra bumper, but I mean, then it's just, it won't even look like a 2-valve anymore at that point. And kind of going into the next topic about looking like a 2-valve. Now these things can be extremely fast if you do them right. Now if you're sticking with the 2-valve, you would have to build it to be extremely fast. You can still make around 400, 450 horsepower to be kind of more reliable. And I mean, that's still gonna be a fairly quick car because these things are light compared to the newer cars. But obviously, newer cars kind of come factored with that power nowadays. So if you really did want to build it, you could always build the 2-valve. You could throw some rods and pistons in there. And I think you'd be kind of closer to like 700 that you could kind of make. Or if you wanted to take the more expensive route, which kind of goes into why it's a good project car, because if you buy in pretty cheap, then you can throw like a pretty expensive motor or whatever you might do in that. Now, if you did like a Coyote, obviously that'd be a cool swap. Now, it does take a little bit of money to get everything done right and proper, but you can still get away doing a Coyote swap pretty cheap. Obviously, if you do that, you can make a whole lot of power because those motors hold a lot more than this. I think the stock 4-valves, I think those hold kind of the same power capability as the 2-valves, but also if you have a Terminator, those things can hold more along the lines of like 600 to 700 kind of reliably before you have to start upgrading parts. And just like I did say that these cars are fairly light, I think the curb weight, don't quote me on this, I think they are like 3,300 pounds or so. So I mean, if you're a 200 pound person, I mean, it'd be about 3,500 pounds with you in it. And that's if you're not doing any type of weight reduction type of stuff. Now, obviously, there's a lot of suspension parts and different stuff you can do for weight reduction. So, I mean, the lighter you go, the faster it's going to get, obviously. Which these cars are literally used for just about anything. I mean, people will autocross these cars, they'll drift them, they'll even do drag racing. I mean, whatever you want to do in it, you can pretty much do, and it's pretty much your ball game of what you want to do to it, and all up to you of your choice. Now, personally, I like to do more of the back road mountain driving more than drag racing, because I think that is a lot more fun to me. Now, even with just springs and shocks and struts, this car still handles a lot better than probably most people would think. No, it's not gonna handle like an M3 or something along those lines, but for what the car is and what's done to it, it still handles pretty fairly good. And now coming into pretty much the last topic, I think these cars sound extremely good. The 2-valves and 4-valves, just, they sound probably better than any other Mustang out there, in my opinion. The 2-valves, obviously, they're known as sounding really good, but they go nowhere. But you can obviously change that depending on what you do. Now, as you heard in the beginning of the video, you heard me backing the car back into the garage. And right now, all I have is a boreless Stinger catback. And if you haven't watched my videos, you will know that I am going to be getting a catless X-pipe pretty soon. Just a catback and still having all my cats on the car and a stock manifold, I think it sounds pretty dang good, and I'll throw up some more sound clips of what it is like. And then I'll even throw up some sound clips of my buddy's Terminator. I'm not exactly sure of what mufflers he has on it, but I know that he doesn't have cats, and I think he still has stock manifold. So obviously these cars can sound really good, but I mean, that pretty much covers just about everything. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I am missing. There's a lot of pros and there is a lot of cons to these cars, but I do think for the money that you can buy in with and for all the stuff that you can do aftermarket wise, I definitely think that these are up there on the top of the list of the project cars that you can have. Now, granted, these cars are 20 years old, so you are gonna have some stuff that if it's still stock, you're gonna have to replace and it's gonna break on you. So, I mean, you gotta keep that in mind, but I mean, for $4,200, I mean, you can't really complain. I mean, that's better than going and buying a Coyote for like 30 grand, and then you're already having $30,000 into it, plus a payment, unless you pay it off. And obviously on top of that, you're gonna be doing a lot of stuff to it, and those parts are gonna cost a lot more, and it's not gonna be as nice on the bank as a 2-valve or a 4-valve or whatever you may get would be. So I guess that's pretty much gonna be the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree with me? Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. And if you haven't, go check out my last video. It was me cruising around on Memorial Day weekend with my buddy and his Terminator. And I mean, it was just a spontaneous little cruise that I happened to film, but I think the video turned out all right. Other than that, I guess I'll catch you guys next time.